Hello everyone. You might have heard about flash floods, but today we'll be also discussing about flash droughts as well. Hello everyone. Welcome to UPSC channel of Super Coaching by Textbook. This is Venkatesh, your faculty for geography. In this video, we'll discuss about droughts, the nature of the droughts, the causes, the solutions needed, and also a very interesting phenomena called as flash droughts. So without much wastage of time, let's start the discussion. So what do you mean by drought? As you can see this picture, drought usually it refers to lack of water. Last year happens to be one of the warmest year ever recorded, not just in India, but also in various parts of the world. According to some of the reports of the private agencies with respect to the climate, we have observed that almost more than 25% of areas in India have seen droughts, which have also seen even in the month of December. So the latest data says that at least more than 25% or 1/4 of India is under the impact of drought. There were reports in the last few days. So keeping this report into considerations, I thought of having a discussion on drought also, as well as some additional concepts associated with these things. So let's start. So as you can see here, the drought, what do you mean by a drought? Generally, droughts as by nature, I think if you see some of the comments here, yeah, okay, right. So generally, droughts refers to lack of water. Okay, so by nature, drought refers to lack of water. And such lack of water, it affects the country in a very, very different way. It is not just, it affects the water resources of the country, the lack of water, affecting the agriculture of a country, affecting the economy of a country, social structure of a country, whatnot, even energy, because you get water from hydroelectricity sources, it can be energy. So the consequences of lack of a drought, lack of water can have an impact on the environment of the water resources, can have impact on the soil moisture, agriculture, economy, soil structure, social structure of a country, because usually the socio-economic livelihoods will be significantly impacted. So droughts are also closely related with the poverty in India, right? With these kind of vast consequences and a vast stretch of this concept, it is very important for us to understand the issues and the layers of the drought in a very, very significant way, in a very, very systematic way. So simply, droughts are nothing but shortfall in water, which will be impacting the water sources, the agriculture, the economy, as well as livelihoods of many, many people, which is impacting the social structure. So that is what we will say the socio-economic structure of a people, right? So this is it. Then what are the types of drought you have? When you talk about the types of drought, it could be natural or man-made. Natural droughts are also natural. They are also man-made human activities. So there are multiple layers of droughts. You can also understand these things from a sequence point of view. Again, you can also understand in their own unique way as well. Both are correct. We'll discuss about what you mean by these kind of things, right? So the first one, meteorological drought. What do you mean by meteorological drought? Okay, meteorological drought, you can see here, refers to an extended period of dry weather patterns. Say this year, El Nino, monsoon. So in India, monsoons are the main source of rainfall, right? So whenever there is there are breaks in the monsoon, whenever there are some kind of a prolonged delays of monsoon, that might lead to a drought. Around the world, we have another concept called El Nino. El Nino, which can lead to drought in various countries, be it Spain. It can have an impact of drought in various countries of the world, be it Australia, Indonesia, or else even different parts of the world. It will impact about the rainfall. So the European countries as well. So monsoon, El Nino. In India, though we get decent amount of rainfall from the monsoon within the 4 months, but the amount of rainfall, the extension, the duration of the rainfall in terms of the distribution from January to December, if you see that there are so many variations of rainfall received in India, which also might leading to concerns about drought at particular districts. Say example, there might be, India might receive decent amount of water at the country level in a year, but that might also have a negative consequences at the state level, sometimes even worst at a district level, right? So when you know that our economy is majorly dependent on, for example, we don't have much infrastructure and irrigation and all in terms of irrigation, which is not significant, there will be certain areas which will be impacted drastically. That is why this topic becomes important. So meteorological drought, and this meteorological drought will be leading to a hydrological drought, right? So hydrological drought is, now it is about our water sources. So this is amount of rainfall. Meteorological is amount of rainfall. This amount of rainfall will help in replenishing all our resources, be it your lakes, the ponds, the rivers, all those kind of things. They will be actually replenished only through the monsoon, isn't it? So this is what you call hydrological drought. Water supply, when the water supply in our rivers, when the water storage in our tanks, lakes, ponds, reservoirs, be it the surface water or be it the groundwater, both surface as well as the groundwater, ultimately source is meteorological. So when this extended period of dry region in the meteorological drought can lead to lack of water supply, which is what we call it as hydrological drought, right? When this significantly damages our agriculture, that is the cropping pattern, okay, damage our crops, then that is called agriculture drought. For example, there are certain regions in India where you will see that you are growing a certain crop like sugarcane or rice, where the supply of water is actually a question mark, right? So the crops like rice, the crops like rice, the crops like sugarcane, they're actually, the policies of our country are favored in such a way. For example, the minimum support price, the procurement, and despite giving minimum support price for other crops and all, the procurement, the structural issues in our agriculture and all has led to a very, very huge demand for rice, whereas there is no policy incentives sufficient enough. Okay. Yes, government is trying to do alternatives of promotion of other crops, but that was not sufficient enough. You will see that rice has become a very, very major crop in terms of the distribution, in terms of the need from the farmer point of view. But that is not the case with every region. So different regions have different sources of water and you need to change it accordingly. But unfortunately, that is not the case, right? So that's why agriculture drought, yes, it is a product of lack of water, which is because of lack of the monsoon, but it also could be man-made because of choosing of the cropping patterns. For example, in the rain shadow region of the Western Ghats, in the regions like Vidarbha region, Telangana and all, yes, there are certain other crops are grown. What if you promote more sugarcane and rice, bypassing the millets? If you have seen the last few years, we are trying to promote millets again, right? Why are you trying to promote millets? Because they are nutritionally efficient as well. At the same time, they are also environmentally very efficient because they can survive in the harsh environmental conditions of lack of water, and they are also very suitable to the changing in the climate because of climate change, global warming, right? So that's why we are trying to now once again bring back the millets in the areas where they are supposed to grow, which was the norm, say for example, 30-40 years ago. That is the objective. So we are trying to promote. 2023 happens to be the International Year of Millets. So that is what we can call it as an agriculture drought. Then that will lead to an ecological drought. What do you mean by an ecological drought? Ecological drought is the most recently defined type of the drought, where it refers to widespread ecological damage caused by the lack of soil moisture. So if the lack of soil moisture can damage the entire ecosystem of that region. That is what we call it as ecological damage. And the same agriculture, you can also have an impact in terms of the socio-economic things, be it the water supply, the food grains, the food availability and all, which is the socio-economic drought. Traditionally, we used to call these three as the sources of drought. We are also have added new dimensions of things. Now, they can be developed on their own as well. For example, there are some kind of faulty agriculture practices which might lead to something like you can see the ravines of the Bundelkhand which can be developed as well. That could be also a reason. So you can see that as well, or in general also you can tell you about a certain perspective, right? So that is also can have an impact. For example, the Bundelkhand region is known for migration. Bundelkhand. So if you see Bundelkhand is known for out-migration. Now to prevent out-migration, it is nothing but it's a product of long-term drought. So it's the socio-economic impact, right? So that is what I'm trying to tell you. The migration, the poverty issues and all. So that is the topic about the drought. If you have understood a basic idea, then what is the uniqueness of drought? How it is different from floods? Anyone who can mention in the comments? Anyone? Let me see the comments. What is the uniqueness of a drought? Or how they are different from, say, like flash floods, like floods? Right? So how they are different from floods? For example, droughts onsets are very, very slow. A conventional drought, their onset is very, very slow. So usually droughts onset is slow. So what has happens? That provides time for adequate warnings. You know that monsoons, when you know that monsoon's rainfall is about to not to occur in a certain district, you will know that this year this district has received only this much amount of rainfall. That is why it is drought. In Indian Meteorological Department, we have some norms. If the average of a certain area, from that average, if the rainfall is less than 25%, we call it as a drought. And between 25 to 50, we call it as moderately drought. And more than 50%, we call it as severe drought, right? So when you also have some kind of a adequate data-based understanding of amount of rainfall received in region, right? So that's what we are saying. The onset of a drought is usually having enough time, providing the opportunity for adequate warnings, right? Then usually you will find that the duration is long. Duration is long, right? It is not like where flash floods occurred one day, it is having an impact for 10-15 days and after that normalcy is restored. No. Unfortunately, drought's duration is longer. It will take 3-4 months, weeks to months. Sometimes weeks, sometimes it will take even months. It could be on a day basis, it could be even year as well. It can be, not necessarily, but it can be, right? So what if monsoons was very severely low in 1 year, and that, say, example, 2024, let's take 1 year, say this year, we get decent amount of rainfall or we get a below average rainfall, okay? So there would be drought by next month, by next January, February next year. And what if the next year, 25 also happens to be a drought year? Unfortunately, then the impacts will be accumulating, will be having an impact. So that will be the consequence you'll be having, and it will be having vast economic impact especially on the livelihoods of our people, right? So these are the uniqueness of it. But often we have also heard about a new concept called flash drought. Yes, we all might have heard about flash floods, but this is about the flash droughts. What is the difference? Usually, in terms of the onset of a drought is usually a slow and providing adequate. Flash flood onset is sudden, and it is mostly associated with the present era of climate change. When you have seen decent amount of climate change, when there is so much amount of unpredictability of amount of water received because of the climate change, right, you will see that sometimes the intensities and frequencies of a flash of a drought are changing. Usually the onset is not slow, onset is sudden, rapid intensification. The drought is rapidly intensifying, right? Because of which we are calling this as flash drought. It's a product of climate change. What is climate change? We all know this. The impact of a climate change is the intensities and frequencies of disasters would increase. So you have seen that onset is sudden, there is a rapid intensification of flash droughts. Please understand the amount of time, how you can prepare an MCQ on this. Flash droughts occur unusually within a short period of time, but they can persist over longer duration. Okay, but these droughts also can persist for long duration. It is not like that flash flood. The flash droughts are only meant for a few days. The difference between flash flood and the drought is this, right? So they can prepare a question for this. Flash droughts, these droughts can persist for long duration. So flash floods, onset is sudden, but this is the thing, can persist for long duration. Okay, I hope you are able to follow this. So what is the difference? The traditional conservative, the traditional conventional regular droughts which we see are always having adequate time in terms of warnings, right? But the flash droughts are sudden and rapidly intensification within a short period of time. But their impact can be for longer duration. That is the difference, right? So this is the idea. So why it is happening? Climate change. Officials observe that climate change, because of the global warming, because of the man-made activities, there are certain areas where they are seeing the droughts in a short period of time, which is rapidly intensification. Ultimately, it is lack of water, and water is the base of life. So this is what is called flash droughts. Now let us understand, where do you think that flash floods occur, or flash droughts occur, or droughts in general occur in India? If you see, one of the most major area of flash droughts, you will see that this is the region of Rajasthan and the Gulf of Kutch, because of the topography. So, for example, monsoons are parallel to Aravallis. Monsoons are parallel to Aravallis, leading to less rainfall in Rajasthan and Gujarat, right? This is one. You can see this is the region of, this is the rain shadow region of the Western Ghats, which you have studied in climatology. Rain shadow region of Western Ghats. So what do you mean by that is, so this side you will find that there is some kind of a Western Ghat mountains, On one side of the mountain, they give decent amount of rainfall. On the other side of the mountain, they give very less rainfall. So that is what is called as the rain shadow region of the Western Ghats, right? Moving forward, then you can see that the spatial and temporal variations of the monsoons. So mostly it is related with monsoons only. Spacious and temporal variations of monsoons. You can see some areas, spatial variation. You can see the regions like here will receive less rainfall than the surroundings. You can see the Bay of Bengal branch gets rainfall along the foothills of the Himalayas. It gives rainfall here, and the rainfall decreases as you move from east to west. So you will see that rainfall decreases as you move towards the west, right? Here also there will be less rainfall because of the Arabian Sea and all. So these are all variations of area by monsoons. Temporal, time. For example, South India usually gets more rainfall than North India because South India's monsoon time frame is almost around 4 months, whereas it is less than 4 months in the north, say sometimes even 3 months, right? So that is the thing. So monsoons, temporal, time variation. It is only for 3 months, like July, August, September in the regions like North India, right? Okay, so the onset of a monsoon is in June, but by the time it completes the spread of the monsoons across India, it will take around 1 month, right? These are the main factors of natural factors. Then there are some other factors as well. See, I gave you some reasons about the natural factors. When you are trying to draw a diagram, when there is a question on monsoons, you can write it in this way, or you can focus on some additional content. More than 80% of rainfall is received in less than 100 days during the southwest monsoon, right? So short period of time, decent amount of rainfall. The remaining months you might have some concerns. The geographical spread is uneven in terms of rainfall. Just now I discussed the spatial distribution. I am given example. 21% area receives less than 700 millimeters of rainfall annually, making such areas the hotspots of drought. So you can see the regions like, this is the Bundelkhand region. Okay, this is the Gulf of Kutch. This is the rain shadow region. Always receiving decent amount of, receiving lesser amount of water, right? Right. So then there are some more other factors as well. Okay. So the other problems, other causes as well. For example, how do you think that agriculture is a cause? Say cropping pattern. I told you the example. Growing crops which are not in tune with the ecosystem of that region, ecology of that region. So you grow crops like rice, sugarcane in water scarce areas. That is a challenge, right? Okay. So if you see the historically, millets area replaced by crops like rice. Now the source, the amount of rainfall is less, then you are always supposed to have decent amount of planning, which is not there. That's what the thing. Then you also had another kind of thing, faulty agriculture practices. For example, if you promote faulty agriculture practices, soil will be eroded. Soil would be eroded. As soil erosion happens, the runoff would increase. There is no percolation. Then also moisture is lost. That is also a reason. Then there is also a recent one, say even, say for example, the fertilizers. How do you think the fertilizers have a role to play in terms of the causes of droughts? Fertilizers, what happens is, while you are trying to plan about the fertilizers in a certain region, what will usually happen is, so when you try to provide more amount of fertilizers to a soil, the soil nature would be changing. So as the nature of the soil changes, the percolation and all those kind of things will change, ultimately having a negative impact on moisture of a region. So it is ultimately the moisture, right? So these are all some kind of man-made factors as well. And we all know deforestation, other factors like, deforestation. When there is more deforestation, there is more runoff impacting the soil, soil impacting the things. Then we can talk about deviating from the traditional water harvesting structures and all. Then when you have this many problems, with this many causes and all, and we know the harmful effects, be it in terms of the economy, be it in terms of the ecosystem, the ecology, be it in terms of the social effects. So the effects of monsoons are quite severe, right? You have seen that effects of droughts are spreading across the environmental things, spreading across the what is this, social as well as economic, right? You have seen that agriculture yield levels will fall down. Agriculture, then farmers' income, farm income would fall down. Rural economy has an impact, right? You have seen because of these kind of things, you have seen out migration, you have seen the issues of poverty effects, you have seen water resources depleting, having an impact on diversity of life, right? It does not have impact on the people but also the life, right? There are so many things which you have discussed, right? These are the general effects. Then what is the solution? What is the solution for these kind of things? You know what? Majority of the solution of drought is located in the water conservation itself. The motto should be water conservation, water storage, water recharge. Water conservation, storage as well as recharge. You need to recharge the waters during the months. The solutions of a monsoon, the solutions of a drought are there before the monsoon season of a year. Usually you see the onset of a monsoon, onset of a drought having its impact after the monsoons. For example, March this year, you might see a drought severe impact, but the reasons for this were last summer. So if you see drought this summer, the reasons are you could not plan yourself properly from last summer. What is the planning? You don't have proper water harvesting structures. You did not have around water buffer. You did not create around water buffer. What do you mean by water buffer here? Buffer means what? Something like a reserve, right? So there is also a buffer means transition, and there is also a meaning of reserve. So you have buffer stocks in economy, right? So that is the preserving certain food grains, storage of certain food grains for in case of a condition like drought. Similarly, water buffer. When you know that certain regions are known for lack of water impacted by monsoons, you need to go by traditional water storage structures which will help in storing more water when there is more rainfall, right? So the objective is to create water buffer during the time of monsoons that you see before them. So you have to revive existing water sources before the monsoons so that you can be able to conserve the water, store the water and recharge during the monsoon. That is the idea, right? So such kind of things you can see here. One such example I have told you. This is the thing, farm ponds, water harvesting structure, farm pond. So you have a farm area. Around that area, you have to create a certain pond where the water will be stored and the water also will percolate, and it will also able to, you have mix of both. It also helps in recharge of the groundwater, and certain areas which are able to store water on the ground. You have to create such kind of farm ponds which will be useful. Then you have some kind of new modern techniques, technology at the help of the humans, say drip and sprinkle irrigation, right? When the Israelis have created this drip and sprinkle irrigation, where they believe that, you know that when the water is needed for the crop in its roots, why waste the entire land by providing more water? Directly provide water to the crop itself, right? A region like Israel, where climatologically doesn't receive much rainfall, has so many patents on agriculture technologies. This indicates that we can learn a lot better out of these kind of things from this country, right? Drip irrigation. Then you also have some other things traditionally from our country. This is what we will say as a percolation tank. There is a tank which is able to percolate the water, and this water will recharge the groundwaters, and that will be useful for the agriculture here. So percolation tanks. And the traditional supply chain which we need to remember for everything is the rainwater harvesting structures. For example, you can take this. Khadins are one of the important rainwater harvesting structures in regions like Rajasthan, where you will see there is a source of water. This is what we call catchment area. Catchment area is not where the river gets its water from, or a region gets its water from. So there is a water, and this water flows. As it flows, you will try to prevent a certain construction of a certain earthen dam or a bund, contour bund or an earthen dam, and this will try to store the water, and this will also help you in percolating the water, through which slowly you will find that through the seepage the amount of water will increase. So this is the idea of a rainwater harvesting structure, taking an example from a region called Rajasthan by a structure called Khadins. So this is how actually Khadins look like on a real basis. You can see these are what you call Khadins. The slope of the land is in such a way that the water will be stored, and as you store water, it will be helping in percolating the water. So these are the Khadins which are found in Rajasthan. You can see these are the areas which we call in Tamil Nadu, which are nothing but tank temple complex. So usually if you go in South India, across the various temples, the temple will be in the villages level. The temples will be having a water body, and that water body is meant for the resources of that particular village, isn't it? That's what you call tank temple complex, which we locally call it as airy tanks in Tamil Nadu. So areas are these things, tank temple complex, Tamil Nadu, very, very popular. So you will also find its impact in the surrounding areas of Tamil Nadu, be it Karnataka, be it Tamil Nadu, be it Andhra Pradesh and all. You will also find some impacts of these things in this part. Then there is another thing called johats, which you find in Rajasthan, in regions like, Odisha or peninsular India, Odisha and peninsular India. This is nothing but identify the slope of a region, create some check dams, or by structures of the rocks, help the water to flow in the monsoons to this point, then try to store the water, percolate the water, recharge the groundwaters. That is the idea. So that is how you create the water buffers. Similarly, you will also see zincs in Ladakh. So zincs in Ladakh, they are able to store water by checking the glacier melt. Glacier melt. That is how they are trying to do it, right? You can also see about similarly about another idea. This is what you need to understand: watershed management. Watershed management. Watershed management. See, this is the slope of a region. This is the boundaries, right? So when there is a rainfall from the atmosphere, you will see that this water flows into this area, and here there will be a river. So using the watershed of a local region of a micro watershed management, you need to develop some lakes, you need to develop some ponds. So within that, you can develop these kind of water harvesting structures. The more you develop such kind of water harvesting structures, the better will be in terms of what? Storage of water, right? So not just these kind of things. Objective is to store water buffer. Of course, I'm talking about agriculture practices, organic farming, and so much kind of things. But to recharge the supply of water, the prime focus is on this. We have various government schemes, right? The government schemes recently, Catch the Rain campaign started by the government, Catch the Rain campaign. Ultimately, motto is to store water buffer. I would always suggest you that over a period of 24 months, 1 month, there will be complete package of, there is an Yojana magazine, which will be giving you all the ideas of these kind of things, which are very, very useful, and you can revive from those kind of magazines. So over a period of 24 months, 1 month, definitely the focus is always on water supply in India by Yojana. You can check the magazine's covers. Every month there is one coverage. So usually in 24 months, you will see one kind of coverage of these kind of water storage structures from Yojana, right? I hope you have understood these kind of things. Similarly, you can see spring shed management in the regions like Shimla. Now springs, what are springs? Spring shed management follows a valley to valley approach, unlike a traditional watershed approach. So inlays the valley to valley approach. So what is happening? You need to understand the geology of a region. You will see that the recharge and discharge areas fall in the boundary of two different villages. So spring shed management allows cooperation between two villages to develop norms for water security. You can see here there is a porous layer through which the recharge of the water is traveled crossing the slope of the region towards this region. Now what is happening? So depending on the geology of a region, depending on the nature of the rocks in a region, our traditional water harvesting structures have been developed across the country. So if you go 24/7, if you go across the 360 degrees of India, you will find that the breadth and the width of the country, you will find that there is varieties of water management techniques which are there. I will provide you the links of all these traditional water harvesting structures, right? And I will prepare a file and I'll share it to you with pictures so that it will be useful for you to revive or to understand all the traditional water harvesting structures in our country. Okay, right? So you can revise that, you can check that. So you can get into my Telegram channel for such information. Hope you all have understood it. And you can join my Telegram channel for getting the PDF file. See, the objective of a Telegram channel is always direct interaction with me. Have a doubt? You can get into the Telegram channel and interact with me and resolve your doubts. That is the objective. Otherwise, what is the point of just be part of a Telegram channel? Yes, you'll get information, but resolution of the doubts is a key, right? So I would encourage you to get into the channel by scanning the QR code or simply typing it as Venkatesh's Geographical Voyage. You can get into the channel and get into all the information, right? Hope, please remember, the key is engaging. The key is how you are asking doubts and which is the opportunity for you to ask directly the doubts to me and help in resolution of your doubts. Okay, then that's it for today. And don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. That's it for today. Thank you. Jai Hind, everyone. Thank you.